going to cover two things in the Chris, the 8 minutes that I have here. We're going to look back real briefly on the original classification system that was developed in 2010, and then kind of look how it was used, and then we'll talk about the updated version that was just published in the fall of last year. And so going back to 2010, and I would say the effort really started around 2006. Dale Polson and I kind of working on PADRAP, if you remember that. We were kind of frustrated with some of the trying to find terms to use to describe things, to classify herds. And so in 2000, I think it was 2009, we got a committee together. Bob Morrison chaired that committee, the late Bob Morrison, and we came up with a system. And there was a group of veterinarians, practitioners, people from Pork Board, ASV, and so forth, and put that together and then proposed that to the ASV PRRS task force, got some input from them, and then finally got them to sign off on it, and then ran that up to the board, and they approved it in March of 2010. And so what did it give us, I guess? Probably the most significant thing was it kind of gave us a roadmap to manage PRRS, right? So if your goal was to control, your goal was positive, stable. Category 2, if your goal was to eliminate, it was category 4, negative, right? And so it gave us that roadmap as well as the terminology to communicate that not only producers but between veterinarians as well. And so that was probably the most significant thing. Bob Morrison, about that same time, as you recall, started the swine health monitoring project that Cesar just presented here. And so he adopted that same classification system for the monitoring effort, right? And so that probably more than any sort of single event led to the awareness of the classification system, and then eventually adoption in the U.S. And now I think it's pretty much been adopted worldwide. I hear a lot about, in Europe, a lot of talk about it, and then even in Asia now, it comes up in presentations frequently. And so what does the new classification system look like? Well, first of all, I guess there was, this dates back to 2018, I think, at the ASV annual meeting. Montse Tormero was chairing the PRRS task force, and it came up, do we need to take another look at that classification system? And so there was enough things that had changed, different process or different sample types, different diagnostic tests, just generally some belief that maybe the strains of PRRS virus that are circulating are changing. So there was a consensus to go ahead and put together a working group, and the people on this slide were part of that working group, to go ahead and come up with recommendations then to modify that classification system. And so to cut to the chase on that, then that group did their work, did the same thing, ran it by the PRRS task force committee, got additional input from them, and then ran it up to the board, got approval from the ASV board. And then it was just published now last year in JSHEP, so the September or October edition of JSHEP. So again, here's your bait. Go ahead and encourage you to pull that article up. This one I'd say is probably a little bit better written than the first one, mainly because there was a lot more help on this one than the first one. So, but it has all the information in there. I'll give you just the highlights of it though. Here's what the new system looks like, and I'll just highlight the changes that the old category 1, positive unstable, was split into 2 categories now. So there's a low prevalence and a high prevalence. And the idea there was that there was a number of practitioners on the committee or the working group who felt like, some of these sow herds, you never quite got them to stable, but in terms of productivity in both the breeding herd and the growing pigs, they did pretty well, right? And so there was a consensus to create that as another destination for control. And so that was done, that was the solution to do that then. The other change was positive stable category 2 was split into either vaccine, using vaccine or not using vaccine, modified live vaccine, of course. And that, as you probably, if you have been paying attention to the swine health monitoring project there, I think Bob made that division, probably 10 years ago now. So that has been something that's kind of been used in practice, and we just more or less formalized it in the new system. Some of the other changes, I'm not highlighting all of them here, but just kind of the big ones, incorporated new sample types. And so for determining positive unstable category 1B, low prevalence, you could use now family oral fluids, processing fluids. Those are options now. Same way with the stable here. You can use, to declare herd category 2 positive stable, you can use processing fluid, family oral fluids as well. I will mention, though, that you have to do that concurrently with blood from weaned pigs yet. We still require serum from weaned pigs because we need to know the status of those pigs at weaning, because that is the definition of stable, right? You consistently wean negative pigs, and so you have to know what those weaned pigs have to know what their status is. And so the other thing that was done here was, I think all along, after that first classification system was put together, there was, we recognized it was a trade-off between what could actually get done, what veterinarians would do, what producers would pay for, and what was good enough diagnostic evidence to support that positive stable category. And, it was, I think none of us were surprised when herds would kind of pop into that category and then pop back out later, right? And so there was, other thing we did was increase the number of samples than weaned pig sample or serum samples from weaned pigs to sort of demonstrate demonstrate that herd's in positive category 2 positive stable. All right, and so again, I'll just point you to the article. This is there's a couple tables like this that summarize the diagnostic evidence, and I think they're fairly well organized. One of the reviewers wouldn't let us off the hook on this one, kept coming back and wanting to have this organized better. And I would say, if you're in the room, thank you. That turned out very well. Never did figure out who that was, but that's fairly well organized. The roadmap then here, how did it change? On the left, you have the old roadmap, and then on the right, the new. The most significant changes to that control. So if the goal is control, under the old system, you had one destination. That was a positive stable category 2. Under the new system, now it's a little more complicated. It's now you can go to positive unstable low prevalence category 1B, and you can stay there if you choose, or you can move on to positive stable category 2 or 2VX with vaccine. All right, so to summarize, we got again a new classification system for PRRS. Again, encourage you to look that up. It's in the September-October edition of JSHAP from last year, and just remind you, it's a living document. We'll update it again as we learn more. Hopefully not in the next 5 years, because it's a lot of work to do that, and so I'll probably be retired by that time. So if anybody wants to take this over, I'm glad to give it to them. And then finally, check out the mycoplasma herd classification system as well here. That was published in the next edition of JSHAP in November, December 2021. And that version is just, you can just overlay mycoplasma on PRRS. There are different pathogens. And so there was a committee put together on that one as well, and came up with, I think, a nice workable system for that as well. Acknowledge ASV for providing support for the classification system, so they paid some more travel expenses and so forth to the working group. So with that, Chris, that's all I got.